I was just getting out of the shower when I heard the doorbell ring. Wrapping a towel around my waist, I hurried downstairs to see who it was. Through the peephole, I could see it was Jake, my son's best friend. They'd been inseparable since kindergarten, and now at 16 they were practically brothers. "Hey, Mrs. Henderson," Jake said when I opened the door. "Is Kevin home?" "Not yet, Jake. He should be back from soccer practice in about half an hour. Do you want to come in and wait?" "Sure, if it's not too much trouble." I let him in, suddenly very aware that I was wearing only a towel. "Make yourself comfortable in the living room. I'll just go get dressed." "Actually, Mrs. Henderson," Jake said, stopping me with a hand on my arm. "There's something I wanted to ask you about." I turned to face him, noticing how his eyes kept darting away from mine. "What is it, Jake?" It's kind of embarrassing," he said, his cheeks turning pink. "Kevin told me something, and I was wondering if it was true." "What did Kevin tell you?" I asked, a knot forming in my stomach. "My son had a big mouth sometimes. He said you have a tattoo. In a private place." I felt my face flush. "Jake, I really think this is inappropriate." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Henderson. It's just, the guys were talking, and I made a bet. I didn't think it was true, but Kevin was so sure." "A bet?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You made a bet about whether I have a tattoo in a private place?" "I know, it's stupid. I'm sorry. It's just, can you just tell me if it's true? I'll give you $20. $20? I was both angry and amused. "Jake, that's not appropriate at all. And even if I did have such a tattoo, why would I show it to you?" "You wouldn't have to show me," he said quickly. "Just tell me if it's true. What is it? Where is it?" I sighed, running a hand through my wet hair. "Jake, this is between me and you, okay? You can't tell anyone I told you this. I promise, Mrs. Henderson. Cross my heart." I looked at him, really looked at him. He was just a curious teenager, not trying to be malicious. And I had to admit there was a part of me that was flattered by his interest. "Okay," I said finally. "Yes, I have a tattoo. It's a butterfly, and it's on my hip." Jake's eyes widened. "Wow, really? Can I see it?" "Jake, no, that's not appropriate. Please, Mrs. Henderson, I won't tell anyone. I need to know for sure." I hesitated. On one hand, this was completely inappropriate. On the other hand, I didn't want him to think I was some boring, uncool mom. And there was something thrilling about the idea of showing this tattoo to my son's best friend. "Okay," I said, my heart pounding. "But just for a second. And you can't tell anyone." "I won't. I promise." I took a deep breath and lowered my towel just enough to reveal the butterfly tattoo on my left hip. Jake's eyes widened, and I quickly pulled the towel back up. "Wow," he breathed. That's really cool." "Okay, that's enough," I said, my face burning. "Now you owe me $20. Jake fumbled in his pocket and pulled out a crumpled $20 bill. "Here you go, Mrs. Henderson, and thanks for, "You're welcome, Jake. Now let's never speak of this again." I hurried upstairs to get dressed, my heart still racing. I couldn't believe I had just shown my tattoo to my son's best friend. What was I thinking? When I came back downstairs, Jake was sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when I entered the room. "Hey, Mrs. Henderson. I'm really sorry about earlier. That was out of line."
"It's okay, Jake. Just don't let it happen again."
"I won't, and I won't tell anyone. I promise." "Good. Kevin should be home soon." We sat in awkward silence for a few minutes until the front door opened and Kevin came in, dropping his soccer bag by the door. "Hey, Jake, what's up?" "Not much, just waiting for you." "Cool. Hey, Mom, can Jake stay for dinner?" "Sure, honey, that's fine." As I went to the kitchen to start dinner, I couldn't help but feel a strange mix of guilt and excitement. I had done something I shouldn't have, but it had also been thrilling in a way I hadn't felt in years. Over the next few weeks, I noticed Jake looking at me differently. There was a new curiosity in his eyes, a certain admiration that hadn't been there before. I tried to ignore it, to act normal, but it was hard. One afternoon, I was working in the garden when Jake came over. "Hey, Mrs. Henderson, need any help?" "Sure, Jake, you can help me weed these flower beds." We worked in silence for a while, sun warm on our backs. "Mrs. Henderson," Jake said suddenly, "can I ask you something?" "What is it, Jake?" "About your tattoo. Does it mean anything?" I paused, my hand hovering over a particularly stubborn weed. "Why do you ask?" "I don't know, I was just wondering. My sister has a tattoo and it has a special meaning to her." I thought for a moment before answering. Yes, it does. It represents transformation and freedom. Wow, that's deep. It was something I got after a difficult time in my life. A reminder that I had overcome something and was free to become whoever I wanted to be. Jake nodded, considering this. That's really cool, Mrs. Henderson. I mean it. Thanks, Jake. We worked in silence for a while longer, the air between us charged with an unspoken understanding. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said again. Can I see it again? I looked at him, really looked at him. He was no longer just a curious teenager making a bet with his friends. There was something more in his eyes now, a genuine interest and admiration. Jake, we've been through this. It's not appropriate. I know, and I'm sorry. It's really beautiful, and I'd like to see it again. Just for a second, please. I hesitated, my mind racing. This was wrong on so many levels, but there was a part of me that wanted to show him again, to see that look of awe in his eyes. Okay, I said finally, but just for a second. And you absolutely cannot tell anyone. I won't, Mrs. Henderson, I promise. I looked around to make sure none of the neighbors were watching, then lifted my shirt just enough to reveal the butterfly tattoo on my hip. Jake's eyes widened, and I quickly pulled my shirt back down. Wow, he breathed. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. Okay, that's enough, I said, my heart pounding. Now let's get back to work. We worked in silence for the rest of the afternoon, but the air between us had changed. There was a new intimacy, a shared secret that bound us together. Over the next few months, our encounters became more frequent. Jake would find excuses to come over when Kevin wasn't home, to help me with chores or just to hang out, and each time he would ask to see the tattoo, and each time I would show him. It became our little secret, our special bond. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. There was something thrilling about the danger, the taboo of it all. One day, Jake came over while I was painting the living room. Hey, Mrs. Henderson, need any help? Sure, Jake. You can help me with this wall. We worked in comfortable silence, the smell of paint filling the air. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said suddenly. Can I ask you something? What is it, Jake? Your tattoo, have you ever thought about getting another one? I paused, paintbrush in hand. Actually, I have. I've been thinking about it for a while. Really? What would you get? I'm not sure. Maybe something to represent this new phase of my life. Jake nodded, considering this. That's cool, you should do it. Maybe I will. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said again, Can I see it again? I looked at him, my heart starting to pound. This had become our ritual, our special secret. Jake, we shouldn't keep doing this. I know, and I'm sorry, it's really beautiful, and I'd like to see it again just for a second, please. I hesitated, my mind racing. This was wrong, so wrong, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, I said finally, but just for a second. And you absolutely cannot tell anyone. I won't, Mrs. Henderson, I promise. I looked around to make sure no one was watching, then lifted my shirt just enough to reveal the butterfly tattoo on my hip. Jake's eyes widened, and I quickly pulled my shirt back down. Wow, he breathed. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. Okay, that's enough, I said, my heart pounding. Now let's get back to painting. We worked in silence for the rest of the afternoon, but the air between us had changed once again. There was a new tension, a new desire that hadn't been there before. As the months went by, our encounters became more intense. Jake would find more and more excuses to be alone with me, and each time, the tension between us grew stronger. One day, Jake came over while I was cleaning out the garage. Hey, Mrs. Henderson, need any help? Sure, Jake, you can help me move these boxes. We worked in the dusty garage, the summer heat making us sweat. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said suddenly, can I ask you something? What is it, Jake? Your tattoo, have you ever thought about where you'd put another one if you got one? I paused, box in hand. I'm not sure. Maybe on my back or my shoulder. Jake nodded, considering this. That's cool. You should do it. Maybe I will. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said again. Can I see it again? I looked at him, my heart starting to pound. This had become our ritual, our special secret, but it was also becoming something more. Jake, we really shouldn't keep doing this. I know, and I'm sorry. It's really beautiful, and I'd like to see it again. Just for a second. Please? I hesitated, my mind racing. This was wrong, so wrong, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, I said finally, but just for a second. And you absolutely cannot tell anyone. I won't, Mrs. Henderson, I promise. I looked around to make sure no one was watching, then lifted my shirt just enough to reveal the butterfly tattoo on my hip. Jake's eyes widened, and he reached out as if to touch it, then pulled his hand back. Wow, he breathed. It's even more beautiful than I remembered. Okay, that's enough, I said, my heart pounding. Now let's get back to work. We worked in silence for the rest of the afternoon, but the air between us was thick with unspoken desire. As summer turned to fall, our encounters became more and more dangerous. Jake would come over late at night, claiming he needed help with homework or just wanted to talk. And each time, we would end up in some dark corner of the house, with me showing him the tattoo, and both of us pretending it was just an innocent curiosity. One night, Jake came over around 10 p.m., claiming he needed help with a history project.
Hey, Mrs. Henderson, is Kevin home? No, he's at his dad's for the weekend. Can I help you with something?
Yeah, I'm working on this history project and I'm stuck. Can you help me? Sure, Jake, come on in. We sat at the kitchen table, textbooks spread out between us. But as we worked, I could feel Jake's eyes on me, could feel the tension between us, growing stronger. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said suddenly, can I ask you something? What is it, Jake? Your tattoo. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to get another one in the same area? I paused, pen in hand. I'm not sure, maybe. Jake nodded, considering this. That's cool. You should do it. Maybe I will. Mrs. Henderson, Jake said again. Can I see it again? I looked at him, my heart starting to pound. This had become our ritual, our special secret. But it was also becoming something dangerous, something I wasn't sure I could control. Jake, we really shouldn't keep doing this, especially not now when we're all alone. I know, and I'm sorry, it's really beautiful, and I'd like to see it again. Just for a second, please. I hesitated, my mind racing. This was wrong, so wrong, but I couldn't help myself. Okay, I said finally, but just for a second, and you absolutely cannot tell anyone. I won't, Mrs. Henderson, I promise. I looked around to make sure no one was watching, then lifted my nightgown just enough to reveal the butterfly tattoo on my hip. Jake's eyes widened, and this time, he didn't pull his hand back. He reached out and gently traced the outline of the butterfly with his finger. I gasped at his touch, electricity shooting through me. Jake, you shouldn't. I'm sorry, Mrs. Henderson, it's just so beautiful. His finger continued to trace the tattoo, and I found myself leaning into his touch, my body responding in ways I hadn't felt in years. Jake, I breathed, my voice barely a whisper. We shouldn't. I know, he said, his voice equally soft. But I can't help it. He leaned in closer, his face just inches from mine. I could feel his breath on my lips, could see the desire in his eyes. Jake, I said again, but this time it was more of a plea than a protest. He closed the distance between us, his lips meeting mine in a soft, tentative kiss. I responded instinctively, my lips parting under his, my arms wrapping around his neck. The kiss deepened, becoming more passionate, more urgent. Jake's hands roamed my body, one cupping my breast, the other sliding down to my hip, to the tattoo that had brought us together. I moaned into his mouth, my body arching against his. This was wrong, so wrong, but it felt so right, so natural. Jake broke the kiss, his breathing ragged. Mrs. Henderson, Sarah, I've wanted this for so long. Me too, Jake. God, me too. He lifted my nightgown over my head, his eyes devouring my body. You're so beautiful. He lowered his head to my hip, his lips tracing the butterfly tattoo that had started it all. I gasped as his tongue flicked against my skin, sending waves of pleasure through me. Jake, I moaned, my hands tangling in his hair. Oh, Jake. He continued to explore my body with his mouth and hands, bringing me to heights of pleasure I hadn't experienced in years. And when he finally entered me, it was like coming home, like finding a piece of myself I hadn't even known was missing. We made love on the kitchen floor, our bodies moving together in a rhythm as old as time. And as we reached our climax together, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. Afterward, we lay tangled in each other's arms, our breathing slowly returning to normal. Wow, Jake said, his voice filled with awe. Just wow. I know, I replied, my fingers tracing patterns on his chest. That was unexpected, good unexpected or bad unexpected. Good, I said with a smile. Definitely good. We lay in comfortable silence for a while, just enjoying the aftermath of our passion. Sarah, Jake said suddenly, what does this mean, for us? I sighed, knowing this was a conversation we needed to have, but dreading it all the same. I don't know, Jake. It's complicated. Because of Kevin? Because of Kevin, because your parents, because of the age difference, because of a million other reasons. This is dangerous, Jake. We could both get in a lot of trouble. I don't care, he said, his voice firm. I've wanted you for so long, Sarah. This isn't just about the tattoo, not anymore, it's about you. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Oh, Jake, I feel the same way, but we can't. We just can't. Why not? Who's going to find out? It can be our secret, just like the tattoo. It's not the same, Jake. This is so much bigger, so much more dangerous. Please, Sarah, just give us a chance. We can be careful, I promise. I looked at him, at the hope and desire in his eyes, and I felt my resolve weakening. I wanted this too. Wanted him more than I had ever wanted anyone. Okay, I said finally, but we have to be careful. So careful. I will be, he promised, his lips finding mine in another passionate kiss. And so began our secret affair. We would steal moments whenever we could. Quick encounters in the garage when Kevin was in the shower. Late-night visits when my ex-husband had Kevin for the weekend. Even a few risky encounters in Jake's car after school. Each time was more thrilling than the last, the danger of being caught only adding to the excitement. And through it all, the butterfly tattoo remained our focal point, the symbol of our forbidden love. But as the months went by, the strain of keeping our secret began to take its toll. I was constantly on edge, jumping at every sound, every unexpected phone call. And Jake was becoming more and more possessive, wanting more of my time, more of me. One afternoon, we were in my bedroom, the door locked just in case. Sarah, Jake said, his head resting on my stomach. When are you going to tell Kevin about us? I tensed, my hands stilling in his hair. Jake, we've been through this. I can't tell Kevin, he would never understand. But I hate lying to him. He's my best friend. I know, and I hate it too. But what choice do we have? We could run away together, he said, his voice suddenly intense. Just leave everything behind and start fresh somewhere new. I sat up, pushing him away. Jake, that's crazy talk. You're 17 years old, you have your whole life ahead of you. I'm a 38-year-old, mother with a mortgage and a full-time job. We can't just run away together. Why not? If we love each other, isn't that all that matters? Love has nothing to do with it, Jake. This is reality, not some fairy tale. We have responsibilities, people who depend on us. But what about us? What about what we want? I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Jake, I care about you, I really do. But this can't last forever. Eventually you'll go off to college, and you'll meet someone your own age, someone you can build a real future with. I don't want anyone else, he said, his voice breaking. I only want you. Oh, Jake, I said, pulling him into a hug. I know you think that now, but things will change. You'll change. I won't, he insisted, but I could hear the doubt in his voice. We lay in silence for a while, the unspoken truth hanging between us. This was fun, this was exciting, but it wasn't forever. I should go, Jake said finally, sitting up and reaching for his clothes. Kevin will be home soon. Okay, I said, my heart aching. Jake, be careful. You too, Sarah, he replied, leaning in for one last kiss. As I watched him leave, I knew that our time was running out. Sooner or later, we would get caught, or one of us would end it. And as much as it hurt to admit, I knew it would probably be me. The end came sooner than I expected. It was a Saturday afternoon, and Kevin and Jake were in the basement playing video games while I was upstairs doing laundry. I thought we were being careful, that we had covered our tracks, but I was wrong. Mom, get down here! Kevin's voice was filled with an anger I had never heard before. My heart pounding, I hurried down to the basement. What is it, honey? What's wrong? Kevin was standing in the middle of the room, his face pale with rage. In his hand, he was holding my phone. Is this true? He demanded, his voice shaking. Are you and Jake, are you sleeping together? I felt the blood drain from my face. Kevin, don't lie to me. I saw the texts, Mom. I saw everything. Jake was standing in the corner of the room, his face white with terror. Kevin, man, I can explain. Explain what? How you've been sleeping with my mom. How you've been lying to me for months. It's not like that, I said, stepping between them. Kevin, let me explain. There's nothing to explain, he shouted, tears streaming down his face. You're my mom, And he's my best friend. How could you? Kevin, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen, and you lied to me, both of you. He threw my phone at the wall where it shattered into pieces. I hate you. I hate both of you. With that, he ran up the stairs and out the front door, slamming it behind him. Jake and I stood in the basement, the silence deafening. I should go, he said finally, his voice barely a whisper. Jake, wait. No, I should go. This is all my fault. It's not just your fault, Jake. It's mine too. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain. What are we going to do, Sarah? I don't know, I replied honestly. I really don't know. As I watched him leave, I knew that this was it. This was the end. And as much as it hurt, I also knew that it was for the best. The next few weeks were a living hell. Kevin refused to speak to me, staying at his dad's house and only coming home when he absolutely had to. Jake's parents had forbidden him from seeing me or Kevin, and from what I heard, they were considering sending him to live with his aunt in another state. I was alone, truly alone for the first time in years, and as I sat in my empty house, I couldn't help but wonder if it had all been worth it. One evening, there was a knock on my door. It was Jake. Your parents know you're here? I asked, letting him in. No. I had to see you, Sarah. One last time. We sat on the couch, the distance between us feeling like a chasm. I'm leaving, he said suddenly. My parents are sending me to live with my aunt in California. When? Next week. Tears welled up in my eyes. Jake, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. No, it's not. It's both of our faults. We knew what we were getting into. Does it help that I don't regret it? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He reached out and took my hand. No, because I don't regret it either. We sat in silence for a while, just holding hands, memorizing the feel of each other's skin. I'll never forget you, Sarah, he said finally, or your tattoo. I laughed through my tears. It's funny, isn't it? That's how this all started. Yeah, he said with a sad smile. Who knew a butterfly could cause so much trouble? He leaned in and kissed me, a soft, gentle kiss that tasted of goodbye. I have to go, he said, pulling away. I know. As I watched him walk away, I knew that this was truly the end. And as much as it hurt, I also knew that we would both be okay eventually. Life went on, as it always does. Kevin eventually started speaking to me again, though our relationship was forever changed. Jake sent me a few letters from California, but they eventually stopped coming. And I went back to being just Sarah Henderson, single mom, office worker, normal person. But sometimes, when I'm alone in the shower or getting dressed, I'll catch a glimpse of the butterfly on my hip, and I'll smile. Because for a few months, I wasn't just normal Sarah Henderson. I was the woman who had a dangerous, thrilling, passionate affair with her son's best friend. And as wrong as it was, as much as it hurt in the end, I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. The butterfly, after all, represents transformation and freedom. And even though our time together was brief, Jake had helped me transform, had given me a taste of freedom I hadn't experienced in years. And for that, I would always be grateful. Years passed. Kevin went off to college, started a life of his own. I dated occasionally, but never found anyone who made me feel the way Jake had. Sometimes I wondered what had happened to him, if he was happy, if he ever thought of me. One day, I was at a coffee shop, working on my laptop, when a young man walked in. He was taller now, more filled out, but I would have recognized those eyes anywhere. It was Jake. Our eyes met across the crowded coffee shop, and for a moment, the years melted away. He was no longer a 17-year-old boy, and I was no longer a 38-year-old mother having a midlife crisis. We were just two people who had shared something special, something forbidden, something beautiful. He walked over to my table, a nervous smile on his face. Sarah? Jake, I replied, my heart pounding. It's good to see you. You too. Can I join you, please? He sat down across from me, and we just looked at each other for a moment, taking in the changes time had wrought. You look good, he said finally. Really good. You too. California seems to agree with you. It does. I'm in grad school now, studying marine biology. Wow, that's great. I always knew you'd do something amazing. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the past hanging between us. Are you happy? I asked suddenly. He considered this for a moment. Yeah, I think so. I have a great girlfriend. I love my studies. It's a good life. What about you? Are you happy? I think so. I replied honestly. Kevin's doing well. I have a good job. It's a good life. Another silence, this one heavier than the last. Do you ever think about it? He asked softly. About us? All the time, I admitted. Do you? Every day, he replied, his voice barely a whisper. It was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. I know what you mean. We sat in silence for a while longer, the coffee shop buzzing around us. I should go, he said finally. I have a class. Okay. It was good to see you, Jake. You too, Sarah. As he stood to leave, he reached out and gently touched my hip, right where the butterfly tattoo was hidden beneath my clothes. Still have it? He asked with a small smile. Of course, I replied. It's a part of me now. He nodded, his eyes filled with a warmth that made my heart ache. Good. It should be. And with that, he was gone, leaving me alone with my memories and my coffee. As I sat there watching the rain streak down the window, I realized something. Our affair had been wrong, yes. It had been dangerous and reckless and had caused a lot of pain, but it had also been beautiful and transformative in its own way. It had reminded me that I was more than just a mom, more than just an office worker. I was a woman with desires, with passions, with the capacity for great love and great foolishness. The butterfly on my hip was no longer just a tattoo. It was a reminder of a time when I had taken a risk, when I had lived on the edge, when I had loved with an intensity I hadn't known I was capable of. And as I gathered my things to leave, I touched my hip, smiling to myself. Some secrets are worth keeping, even if they only last for a season. And some butterflies are meant to fly free, even if they leave a mark when they go.